technical issues. So please stand tight. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the February 15th regular meeting of the Clear Lake City Council. Time is 6:03. Madam Clerk, can you conduct the roll?
Councilmember Slotin?
Here.
Councilmember Purdock?
Here.
Councilmember Kramer?
Here.
Vice Mayor Overton is absent, and Mayor Claffey.
Yep. Councilmember Kramer, can you lead us in the pledge?
I'd be honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'd all remain standing. Earlier this week, a family that has meant a lot to the community here in Clear Lake lost someone. Ruth Darling passed away. So if we could just have a moment of silence. Thank you all. City Manager Flora, any changes to the agenda?
No modifications, Mr. Mayor.
Make a motion to accept the agenda. I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Purdock, a second from Councilmember Slutin. Let's vote on the portal.
Aye.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
All right, let's move on to presentations. Number one, presentation of the February adoptable dogs.
Hello, everybody. This is Waldo, our adoptable dog of the month. He is a 5-year-old pit bull mix. Waldo is a very cuddly, lovable dog who is friendly with everyone he meets. He is a volunteer favorite and is very gentle on leash and would make a great hiking partner or a couch potato. Waldo is fully vaccinated, neutered, and microchipped. Where's Waldo? You can find him at our shelter at 6820 Old Highway 53. We're open 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Come meet your new best friend.
Very cute.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And quickly moving on to item number 2, a presentation of the North Bay Animal Services Annual Report. Chief?
Good evening, council members, mayor. Thank you for having us. Hopefully I know how to work this. So we had our first year and about a half of doing animal control, animal services for Clear Lake. Obviously, the good portion of that was learning and trying to understand different players, different location, the challenges that is faced with just the spacing at the shelter, just trying to understand all of those nuances. Some things working, some things not working. Some kennels need to be repaired, some facility pieces that need to be repaired. So a lot of it was just learning. But I feel like we got a good grasp of where we're at now, and things seem to be rolling pretty smooth. We had a really good shelter staff that has.
Mr.
come
Scott,
in.
the folks in the back are not able to hear you. If you could just
Oh.
speak a little more directly in the microphone.
Hello?
It's working. Thank you, sir.
I don't know how to get much closer. We'll go to the no-kill community. We feel like the shelter has really embraced the no-kill equation and philosophy. The community has really come up and talked with us, and the people that are saying this is what we want versus a kill shelter. So we feel like we are really starting to engage with the community of this is the new philosophy of their shelter that they can be proud of. No-kill equation is 90% live release rate or better. We're about 98 right now, so we are far exceeding that. It's very hard to do that in this environment, especially with the vet shortage that's going on and all the animals that got adopted out during COVID coming back. So it's a real challenge to keep that high level of service high, but so far, so good. In 2022, 2023, we were awarded the Best Friends Animal Society Award for No Kill. We got our actual thumb of approval from Best Friends saying that we were able to keep that high live release rate in place. So this is kind of the no-kill equation, working with rescue partnerships, having great volunteers, a great foster program, which we are starting to really come around with having more people wanting to step up and help out. Trap, neuter, and release is also one that we're starting to really get out in the community. There's a few cats that, hotspots as we call them, that we know we need to go after, and we've already started a few, but that's the next on the list of the agenda. Comprehension adoption program. We've done a great job of adopting out animals. We said they were going to be free adoptions last year and really started to turn over that adoption rate. Prior to that, I think it was single digits or just barely double digits, and I think we did 75. Pretty well. Having a low-cost spay neuter program, we had to get the animals in the shelter altered first, and now that we have done a great job getting those done, working with our local vet here, we have, I think, about 10 or 12 left that still need to be done. And then we're going to start doing more public spay and neuter. We do a few, but then we won't have any more at the shelter to do. We'll be doing more public ones. So there's a picture of our award from Best Friends giving us the We Are a No-Kill Shelter in recognition of achieving no-kill status in '22. So we got that in '23. And it was just one of those, you do the hard work and you don't really, the staff comes in every day and then once in a while something like this happens, you're like, that's what it's all about. We're getting recognized from a national organization. It's pretty cool. So big challenges, and there's no, everybody knows vet shortage is a huge problem in the United States. California is having an issue as well. The RVTs, the vets have really taken a toll during that COVID happening and really hasn't come back yet. There are some grants out there where people are trying to get their new doctors in, by getting them up to speed as quick as possible, and that's helping, but we're still behind the times that where we used to be pre-COVID. So that's always going to be a challenge for us going forward, doing as much as we could, as cost-effective as we could, but it's not going to stop us from our mission. Intakes are always going to be an issue here. As soon as we get kind of on top of it, the next thing you know, we get another litter of puppies. And you go, hey, we have 75, we had 80 in the shelter, now we got 48. And then a litter of puppies comes in and it bounces back up. Right now we got 48 and I think 12 puppies in there right now that are two different litters, but much better than it used to be, much more manageable than it was, I think, this time last year. Okay. So we'll just kind of go down the highlight the big ones. Stray seized custody. We had 260 seized dogs from the out in the field, incident to arrest, everything that a seized dog would be picked up from an animal control. That was 260 we picked up, 148 cats that came into the shelter in '23. We did quite a few wildlife. We did 31 wildlife that came into the shelter, which is not something that I think when we first came up, you had to something in place to do, but we're able to pick up wildlife now. Making sure that, I think one of the officers that was just here, she picked up injured deer and was able to get it re-released because it had gotten itself stuck. So it's kind of feels good to get wildlife back where it's supposed to be. Our outcomes, I was saying adoptions, we've done 75 dog adoptions. I think that's a little high because at the end of the year, we did that big push for free adoptions to try to help people that were in foster homes for quite some time, but they just never finalized the adoption. We let them know it'd be a free process, just come on in and finalize the paperwork so we can go ahead and get that animal into your ownership. We did a pretty good job of communicating to the public, of letting them know, there are adoptable animals here through our Facebook, through our internet as well, our website. And it seems like that's been working, 109 total. That's much better than it used to be, is from my understanding. Return to owner, that's what RTO is. That's dogs that went to the shelter and then somehow went back to its owner. Didn't have to stay in the shelter, didn't have to get rehomed somewhere, just went straight back to its owner. Euthanasias, we did have 6. It looks like on here, that can happen as animals come in and poor shape and a vet has to euthanize them. DOAs, no one likes to talk about it. I've talked about it before, but it's one of those things that it happens here quite a lot, and you would prefer it not to. Animals running around, not being where they should be, and they get hit and killed, we pick them up. It's terrible. I want to keep talking about it because I want to make sure we're aware of it and we start to reduce that number. We did have quite a few, when litters of kittens come in, sometimes some pass away, and so some died in the process of that. So data tracking and training has always been a challenge for us. Getting new staff up to speed, having staff that are not on site, training staff that are on site, making sure they're communicating when you've come across something you're not sure of, and how did you intake it properly? Did you outcome it properly? That kind of stuff. It's just a constant, what is the right thing to do? And there's so many little things to it. How old is it? Where did it come from? Was it the right jurisdiction? So there's these little challenges that are always going to be an ongoing issue for us that we have to almost like data clean up. We try to remove some barriers by opening more hours. We're trying to be open 9 to 6 every day for adoptions and people that are interested in animals. That's 7 days a week, 9 to 6. I know there are people that have gone there with other intentions, and the staff has to say, hey, we're here from 9 to 6 for adoptions. I'm going to grab my water one sec. Excuse me. By increasing our foster program and getting people to buy into wanting to help out, not leave animals in the shelter, that has been very helpful. The staff doesn't have to care for them if someone else can. They can come get supplies, they can come get food, but if someone else can care for a litter of kittens, that's great. They don't have to be in the shelter, they don't have to get ringworm, anything that they'd be susceptible to if we can have them in someone's home, or a litter of puppies as well. Again, I feel like we've had a really good community partnership. We've had more people want to join volunteering. So that to me means a lot. It means like they feel like we're doing the right thing and they want to be a part of that. So it's been really helpful for us to feel like, okay, we're on board now. We've had people show up for our clinics that want to volunteer, and it's been really just eye-opening and helpful. It's like, hey, if you're going to put something out there, put it in the right effort to make something change. So as the calls for service increase, what that means is people know who to call now. In the beginning, it was, where do you call? What number do you, remember we were trying to figure out what's the best number to call? Is it Mark's phone? Or is it the shelter's phone or the PD's number? So our calls for service are increasing because people know where to get a hold of us now. Our emails are increasing as well. As awareness gets out there, I feel like we've had a good connection. We want it to be the right connection. We want people to go through the dispatch center and not Facebook. Facebook's great. We love it. We want it to be helpful and get us right there as quick as possible, but we need it to get call logged. And what happens is a lot of time people put it through Facebook and say, well, I told them 20 minutes ago, and it's like, no one was looking at Facebook at that moment. So call the call center so we can actually get it onto the officer's ticket to move forward on. I know we had a call today where someone had texted, hey, I told so-and-so, I texted them, like, just call the call center so we can get there, we'll deal with it. And the officer took care of it pretty quickly. We did have an increase in wildlife calls, and the one thing our data informed us of is we need to do more patrols. So this is the call for service. We had 87 cruelty and neglect calls, 187 dog bite calls. You see the patrols is down to 37. Usually when you see other calls higher, like dog bites, the patrols are going to diminish so they can go to the dog bites. But we want to be more out there so maybe we can prevent some of those. Typically, dog bites happen outside of your range in other jurisdictions that we cover. It's at the park, it's at the school, it's out at a store. these are a lot of bites that are like real close to your home. So we want to try to get people to understand, keep your dogs on your property best you can, because these bites shouldn't be happening so close to your house. 1,400 calls for strays at large, 89 calls for wildlife. 157 welfare checks are just, concerned citizens wanting to let us know that they don't think things are appropriate. I know prior, we had some, I don't know how long I'm gonna leave that up there, but prior we had citation issues with officers weren't writing as many citations. Since last year, we got on board, Lieutenant Peterson got us up to speed on how to correctly do a citation and trained us, and so we did 25 last year. Veterinary costs have increased throughout the industry. A big thank you to our local vet here, Clear Lake Vet Clinic, has done most of our service, including, last minute stuff, best when they're during hours. We did 133 spay and neuter surgeries last year, 7 other types of surgeries, which could be an amputation or, an eye nucleation. And I think the cost was over $55,000, just with that office. It's hard to track vet services because we transfer so many animals from here out or down to Petaluma. So if the vet services weren't done here, they're getting done down there. These numbers are just for this office that's in town. One of the things that you'll notice that we just started doing for 2024, I just want to kind of get to what's coming up now. We started offering free spay and neuter, or free microchipping and free vaccinations. And it's going to be hopefully twice a month is the goal. We've already had 50 people go through in the last 3 ones that we've done. And that's just going to be at the shelter. And these are some pictures of some volunteers that came in and showed up and said, hey, we're here to help. We want to make a difference. And that's the line of people that showed up in the rain and stuck it out and got their animal vaccinated. And that's what I mean by getting the community to understand, hey, we're here for you. We want to do the right thing. We want to make sure your animals are vaccinated. And now you know where to go. That's another clinic. Looks like a little pup getting vaccinated. Hopefully he's okay with me showing this photo. I think this is National Night Out. Again, us trying to be out in the community, making sure they're aware that we're here to help. Staff looking very happy with their meal plan. I like the photos, they tell everything. And it looks like the Christmas parade, thanks to the police department inviting us and supplying the truck with lights. It's one of those things that it's a little thing, but man, it goes a long way making staff feel good about what they're involved in. Little dog on the top's pretty cute. And I think this is Goliath, who had been at the shelter for quite some time. He just finally got adopted. And that's his new adopter and in his car going home. And I think that's the end of our presentation.
Thank you, Director Scott.
Thank you.
Any questions from the council?
Yeah.
Councilmember Sutton.
You are a no-kill shelter. Are there other no-kill shelters in the county?
In Lake County?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
That's all. Thank you.
Councilmember Burdock.
Thank you. Good news to see that you're starting to work with cats. I've had some requests from constituents in areas where I think people drop cats and kittens. What would the process be for them to come into the shelter and help you out by maybe trapping and bringing them in?
So the way the shelter is designed, it's more for handleable cats.
Okay.
So the room that's there can hold probably, 12 easily handleable cats. TNR cats are much different. They're of the mindset that by the time you trap them, they really should go the next day to get surgery and get re-released the day after that. So you're talking a 2-3 day minimum, right, or maximum. The shelter's not designed for that. So we're trying to come up, we bought some shoreline cages. We're going to try to make space so that we can house more, maybe a week or two at the most, and then get them through the surgery process.
And TNR is trap and release?
Trap, neuter, and release.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Councilmember Kramer.
You're released, just to finish the question on that, so you're releasing those cats back in the area where you initially picked them up then?
Typically, the ongoing thinking is this cat was thriving in its environment. So let's say it's on a specific road and it's doing well, it knows it's in and outs, it knows the traffic patterns, it knows when people are coming and going, and it's thriving. The only thing you don't want is him to have more, or her to have more
More
babies.
kittens, yeah.
So you trap and neuter them, but you want to put them back if that's where they were thriving. If they're young enough and they can be rehabilitated, we can adopt them out, it's different. But if they are an adult cat that knows its way around, then it should go back, in theory.
How late are you, or are your officers open if if you get a call of a stray dog, for instance, in a public place?
So we're there 9 to 6 every day. Aside of like the Super Bowl, the staff wanted to go watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I gotta let them go watch the Super Bowl. I don't want to get in trouble, you know? So we do have officers that'll answer the phone. We do have staff that'll come if a call is needed, if an on-call option happens. But we're there every day. And when I say I let them go home early, they went, I think, at 3 o'clock. They went home.
There has
And
been
it's
one.
once in a while.
There's been one, I've received a couple of calls from various people about a female dog and some half-grown puppies out by Walmart. I think I actually saw them the other night, actually. It was right at 6 o'clock, but have you been, I know I talked with Lieutenant Peterson about it. Have you picked them up?
We
Have you seen them?
We haven't picked them up. There was a litter that was there with the mom dog that our officers had went out and made contact what they thought was the owner and made them aware, like, hey, they need to be back on your property. This next litter or this other, probably that you're speaking of, I don't think there's an owner there that's going to be able to handle them.
When I was seeing them the other night, of course, there were some homeless in the area that also had dogs, and the two that I saw were both on a leash, and so that was good. These look like a black lab mix to me. I only saw the one female and one, like I said, half-grown puppy.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully we can find those two, and so I can stop getting calls.
Yeah, we're trying to make as much space as possible so we can take in these hot spots. Walmart is a hot spot for sure.
Yeah,
Everybody
it really
knows
is.
No secret. We've talked to PD about putting out cameras there.
Yeah. And I mean, I understand it's, you just got to be there at the right moment.
Exactly.
And when they're running loose, they're not going to stay and wait for you, probably. So the kennel has how many in it today?
I believe it's 48 and 15 or 14 puppies.
48 plus
48
14.
adult dogs.
Plus 14
and then
puppies.
Puppies
Yeah.
are, I think 5 in one litter and 7 in something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. And the puppies are generally easier to go out?
Yeah, they'll typically get adopted out a lot faster or fostered out a lot faster. And we just took a transport, so we'll be probably sending these ones in the next week or so.
So you're trying to keep it around that less than 50 on the
Yeah,
adults?
that's a manageable number by the staff we have now, without us putting crates everywhere and doing that whole thing. And obviously, we'd like to be less than that, but
Sure.
right now, that seems
No,
reasonable.
I'm pleased that you're keeping it down at that number. At one point, I think last year when you reported, we were around 70, so.
Yeah, we had like 78, and I think there was 3 real big cases that had happened
Yeah.
back to back to back, and it just sent us like, I think it was 27 or 24 came in one shot. It was just
Well, thank you.
tough.
Thank you, Director.
All right, thank you.
Hold on, I got questions too. I may have missed it, but I didn't see licensing numbers on there.
I didn't put licensing numbers on there. We're dealing with pet data, and I'm trying to, because some is done through pet data, some is done through us, and we're almost to the end of our pet data contract, where it's a lot easier to just in-house it all in one. So I just didn't put it on there. I can get it for you if you like. I just didn't put it on there.
Anecdotal is fine, but are we ramping up licensing? What
We
do
are-
the
we are
numbers
starting
look like generally?
I just don't have I don't want to spit
Yeah,
the
yeah.
wrong number, but we are actively trying to do more with licensing for sure. It has been a topic on our bottom line throughout all the cities, not just, because we really couldn't do licensing when there was no way to get your dog rabies, right, back in the COVID days. So now we know that that's coming out, we can start to then get people back on board.
Last time we had you here, I know citations was a big concern for us. 25 still seems low. Why only 25 citations at this point?
I want to say that was probably for the last 6 months of '23. Maybe you can talk to Peterson, but it will obviously go up from there. I think the number is like 17,000 in fees and stuff, but we're going to do it when it's appropriate, and we're going to educate when it's appropriate, and we're going to write them as it need be.
Do you have a target for the first half of 2024?
No, I don't want to, say you're going to write 100 citations by March, we're not going to do that, but as the officers find violations, they're going to address them. But it's far better than what it was, which I think was 4 or something
Yeah.
ridiculous before.
Yeah. So with 1,400 calls for strays, we have a shelter that can only handle about 50 folks. You've been in the position for a year now. What's the strategy? What's the plan? How are we going to start attacking that stray number while not overcrowding our shelter?
So the strategy is to continue what we're already doing, which we see is working. We're putting dogs back in homes that are spay and neutered. That's the strategy. That's what is needed most. Most all the dogs we get don't have a vaccination record. They don't have an ownership. They don't have a microchip. That's not a good matrix. You want to put dogs back in homes where if your dog does get out, I know who it is. I know who the owner is. I know who to write the citation to. Now there's accountability, right? Whereas before it was whatever is whatever. So now if we continue to put dogs back in homes that we know who they are, we continue to do free clinics where we're registering people and we're tracking that, that's going to really start to slowly turn things around. Now, the reason why we asked for a 10-year contract, because we thought that's what it's going to take. We didn't say it was going to be a 2-year fix and all of a sudden things are going to be perfect. It's going to take some time, and it's going to take this community engaging and volunteering and just constantly getting the word out, and the citations will help as well. But it's going to be like a tripod effect. It's going to take more than one leg to fix it all.
So then if microchipping and licensing is the first step in that, right? Do you have tangible targets for 2024 that you're trying to hit? How many dogs are there in the community, and how many do you have to microchip and license this year to make a dent?
So I don't have that number in front of me. That would go with the licensing to come off the top of my lip. And I don't have a target to just say we're going to do 100 per week or something like that. Our goal is to get as many people that can come in here, even if they're not from Clear Lake, microchip or vaccinated. So when we put those out there, we say it's for Clear Lake. People show up and say, hey, I'm not from Clear Lake. I know one person showed up and they were like, hey, I'm from down the street. Do you mind? And we had told them because the staff wasn't sure yet. They were like, no, I think it's just for Clear Lake. We told them you can come back and get it done. I don't know if they did or not, but we want to get that done as much as possible. That'll help everywhere, right? So that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, with 1,400 calls for strays, I feel like we really should have some tangible targets we're going
Well,
after.
those calls those are calls for service. And as you know, you'll get multiple calls from one problem. And it's not 1,400, it's one person called you 18 times. They still get logged, right? So you really have one dog problem, but 17 calls on that one dog problem. I've just made those up so you understand what I mean, but once we get
Why is it
that-
getting to 18 calls, though?
I don't want to say Facebook is our friend sometimes, but sometimes it can be
That's fair.
tricky. You get one call from one person, and then you get the same call from another person. That's 2 calls, one house. So it's just, until we get better depth numbers and more people microchipped and more understanding of where we're really at to get a real true number, we just got to keep plugging away at it, to be honest. I mean, picking a number, I could throw a number at you and it wouldn't mean anything.
Well, I mean, a number should matter in terms of the larger strategic plan, right? And
It
if you have
does.
10 years or now 9 years, how much do you have to take off to make a dent is what I'd be getting at and looking for that guidance from you. Last question, and it kind of touches on Councilmember Kramer around dumping. We know it's an issue. We've seen, has there been an uptick over here at Austin Park now with the dog park? I've seen a
Yeah,
couple of things there.
it feels like people know that that's a park that if they dump, someone's got to do something because the dogs can't get out, right? So that's a real problem for us, and we really know that that's not helpful at all. We need to be able to, figure out, or we don't know when the call's coming in, when they got dumped. Have they been there for 3 hours before someone called us? We don't know. So it is an issue. But, I mean, we manage it best we can.
Great. Thank you, Director Scott. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much. Anything to add, City Manager?
I don't have anything to add. I just think we should ask and see if there's any public comment on the presentation.
All right. If any members of the public would like to make a comment, your time is limited to 3 minutes. Please come up to the microphone here. Seeing none in the chamber, City Clerk, any on Zoom?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there is a comment from Jesse Rawls on Zoom who asks, when will something be done regarding the pack of dogs in Park Street? What if they don't pay their situations and continue to collect more dogs? And at what point are the irresponsible dog owners held accountable? We've been calling on the same pack of dogs for 7 years. Nothing has been done except giving them a fine. And that concludes the comments on Zoom.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, let's move on to item F, public comment. This is a time for any member of the public to address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. If anyone would like to make a public comment, please step forward. And please state your name and city of residence.
Hi, my name's Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake I live. How's everyone doing? All I wanted to make mention, again, I kind of come back on the road condition, the pavement, asphalt, and I'm wondering, I know that there's road improvements that are in the plans. I wanted to see, how can I find out, what roads are intended on being worked on? And then just the simple fact that the road right here by the park, where everyone is in and out, is actually, it's deteriorating. So there are more potholes than there is asphalt in this stretch. And I'm wondering, why hasn't it been addressed? It's a very short piece, but people are going to start tripping, falling, suing. So I think it's something that needs to be looked at. So that's my main comment tonight. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I know our Public Works Director gave a great presentation a couple of meetings ago. City Manager Fleur, anything?
Well, just a couple of things quickly. We have about 26 miles of road projects we're planning on doing this year. They are in various stages of the design process. One section was completed, I think, this week, and we'll be hopefully bringing contracts forward in the next couple of months for the council to approve on those. And then just remind Ms. Garcia and the public that if you have any concerns or service requests related to roads, you can just go to the city website and go ahead and put your service request in, and it'll go directly to our Public Works team to address.
Thank you, City Manager. Any other comments? Seeing none in the chamber. Madam Clerk, any online?
There are no public comments on the Zoom.
Thank you. I'll close public comment. Move on to item G, consent agenda. Does City Manager, anything to pull from here? Council members? Mr. Kramer, are you raising?
No, I'm
Okay.
raising my hand to make a motion
All right, go
if
for
and
it.
when it's appropriate. Can make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
A motion by Councilmember Kramer, second by Councilmember Slutin. Please vote on what in your portal.
Aye.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you. Moving on to business. Item H5, renewal and approve the use and retention of the development impact fees for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. Director Wells.
Thank you, Mayor Claffey and council members. Council is being asked to review and approve the retention and use of the development impact fees totaling $112,049 for fiscal year 22-23. Per the development impact fee report, fees collected prior to fiscal year 22-23 totaled $416,393, with the new sum total being $528,443 at June 30th, 2023. While the city has been collecting fees and council has been approving the retention and use of the fees, we will be requesting your approval during mid-year budget review to appropriate the funds for the first time. I do recognize that approving the retention and use of the funds at prior council meetings and tonight could be considered an appropriation, but I do want to formalize an appropriation as we gear up to use the funds this fiscal year. For background, on September 17, 2020, the council approved Ordinance 247-2020, amending Chapter 3 of the Clear Lake Municipal Code, creating a development impact fee program to offset the cost for increased demand for city services and facilities. Under AB 1600, the city can establish fees to pay for these needs as long as there is a study that legally justifies the costs of the fees. The key requirements that determine the structure, scope, and amount of the proposed fee program as required by AB 1600 are as follows. Fees are collected for capital facility and infrastructure improvements. Fees cannot fund existing needs. Impact fee revenue cannot be collected or used to cover deficiencies in existing city capital equipment and facilities. Fees must also be based on a rational nexus. An impact fee must be based on a reasonable nexus or connection between new growth and development and the need for a new facility or improvement. At this time, staff is recommending using the total balance of $528,443 of development impact fees for the Airport Road 18th Avenue extension for further continuation of that project. The project is expected to start in this current fiscal year, 23-24. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Wells. Any questions from the council? Seeing none. Any questions from the public? I'm sure Director Wells, if you make an appointment, will find time to explain it all or at least read it again. Madam Clerk, any comments on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I'll bring it back to council.
I want to move to approval of fiscal year 2022-23 Development Impact Fee Report.
Second?
I have a motion from Councilmember Slutin, a second from Councilmember Purdock. Please vote in your portal.
Aye.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 6, adoption of second amendment to fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, Resolution 2023-27 for mid-year adjustments. And for this, Director Wells.
Administrative Service Director, can I get access to the slideshow? Perfect, thank you. Okay. City Council is being asked to adopt Resolution 2024-06, amending the fiscal year 2023-24 budget to include mid-year adjustments. We'll be doing a quick mid-year budget review, starting with a quick economic overview of the proposed budget for the state of California, and then a quick economic overview of the city of Clear Lake, looking primarily at housing market data and sales and use tax projections. We'll discuss our current year strategies for budget management. As noted, we're being conservative with our discretionary spending and also focusing on revenue recovery. And then we'll go over the recommended adjustments to the fiscal year 23-24 budget. So California's budget proposal was released by Governor Newsom in early January, proposing a $291 billion budget for fiscal year 24-25. This includes $13 billion drawn from reserves and $18 billion in cuts, and shows a $38 billion deficit, which is down from $68 billion last year. And while those numbers might sound a little daunting, the budget proposal does not consider us going into a fiscal crisis, as we have the state has access to $91 billion in unused borrowable funds. When making projections on economic development for fiscal year 24-25, the governor projects a modest wage growth, personal income growth, increased residential building permits and revenues associated, and my favorite, historically low interest rates. In looking at the City of Clear Lake housing market trends, I was thrilled to see that, and these comparisons are in December 2023 compared to December of 2022. The median sale price for houses is $210,000, which is 32% higher, increased year over year from December 22. Our number of houses sold was 9, which is a 12.5% increase over December of 2022, with 61 being the median days that a house is on the market, which is actually 40 days lower than December of 2022. And this data comes from Redfin, and going into Redfin and looking at surrounding communities, that they had the same data comparisons in the same time frame and looking at the same data points. I did notice that the market trends in Clear Lake Oaks, Kelseyville, Lakeport, and the County of Lake had the exact opposite trends than the City of Clear Lake, with lower median sales prices, lower numbers of homes sold, and higher numbers of days on the market. So one of the things that could potentially be contributing to that is the opportunity for increase in the ability to run a short-term rental. And what the city has found is that transient occupancy tax and tourism district assessments are a opportunity to bring more revenue into the city, as we've identified this as an area where we need to be recovering more revenue. So in December of 2022, when we transferred the management of transient occupancy revenue collections and tourism district, tourism district was not active at that time. But when we transitioned over to HDL, we were actively collecting taxes from 14 short-term rentals in the city. And HDL has been managing the city's short-term rentals, transient occupancy tax collection, and tourism district assessment collections since January of 2021. And we have recently transitioned that back to the city of Clear Lake starting in January of 2024. And in that transition, HDL reported to us that they were collecting short-term rental taxes from 28 short-term rentals. And we have contracted with a company called Rentalscape that has an algorithm that collects data from the internet and tracks the number of Airbnb, VRBO, and other sites where people are advertising their short-term rentals. And they have identified 69 rentals in the city of Clear Lake, and we've only been collecting on 28. And so I wanted to just show you a little bit of information that we're able to gather. I'm not showing you the map from the website as it has confidential information in it, but you can see general locations. We can see the number of advertisements on Airbnb, VRBO. If you have really good eyesight, you can see on the slides, it says that we have 0 licensed short-term rental properties in the city of Clear Lake. I just wanted to clarify that with the transition of the oversight of short-term rentals back to the city of Clear Lake, we're in the process of uploading all the licensing data. So I didn't want that to be misleading. And we do have identified multiple short-term rentals that are unlicensed. In addition, we recognize that there are a number of those that also do not have zoning permits for short-term rentals. And so the finance department and the planning department will be meeting to discuss how we can, record and track and monitor and make sure that we're recovering that revenue that we're currently not collecting on. I did want to jump over very quickly to the website to just give you a quick look at the dashboard so you can see a little bit of the data that we're able, well, let me share, and then you'll be able to see it too. Okay. Perfect. So you can see a little bit of the data. This data is specific to short-term rentals only, and the percentage of booking activities at the time of year you can see varies considerably. Right now, we're at 13% of bookings with estimated host revenues over the course of the year at $728,000. It identifies unit types, platforms where the advertising is being done. There's information about anticipated transient occupancy tax for collection, and these are, again, just short-term rentals, and we're seeing $62,000 projected. Average daily rates that are being charged, residential types of property, primary properties, secondary and investment properties, unknown, rental structures, unit types, rental size, and again, online platforms. So we have a lot of valuable information available to us and just wanted to share that. So I'm going to go back to our presentation. Perfect. Okay. All right. So in taking a quick look at our sales use and transaction tax, actuals for fiscal year 22-23 are $2.2 million, and the revenue forecast for the next 3 years, as you see, fiscal year 23-24, we're projected to be down 3.6%. Our estimate of that is that we'll probably bring in about $100,000 less in sales tax revenue for this fiscal year. And then projections for 24-25, we see a 2.2% increase. For fiscal year 25-26, we see a 2.5% increase. These forecasts don't actually include revenues from the new Arco gas station that is currently being constructed. There will be construction and expansion of J&L Market, as well as the travel center that the Elam Tribe is planning and will be moving into construction in the future. And the travel center, the tribe has also has a tax sharing agreement with the city, so we do anticipate significant tax revenues from the travel center as well. And we also have projections, as you can see, for Measure V, and then, of course, Measure P projections would be half of what you're seeing in regards to Measure V. So for budget management, we are focusing on conservative discretionary spending while we're all aware that we have significant amounts of grant funds, and you see a lot of activity around the city. The discretionary funding in the general fund is relatively flat. We know we're going to have potentially $100,000 reduction in the revenues that we projected. We are seeing some increases in revenues in other accounts that may make up for that. City Manager Flores is rather optimistic and thinks we'll be crossing that line, and I'll let you know on June 29th. So we also have been kind of moving towards using internal hiring to replace professional services. An existing example of that is the grants management analyst position that we hired for. And it's been a great collaboration to have someone internally working on grants monitoring and compliance, and working in partnership with the professional services of Adams Ashby, and the consultant we work with there, who has 30 years of experience in managing CDBG grants. And so someone working internally with an external consultant has saved us money and been a great partnership, and we're proud to be able to say that we had our first CDBG audit last year, and we had no findings, and we also had our first single audit on federal grants and last year in a number of years, and we also had no findings in that audit as well. So we are saving money and doing a good job of managing those and documenting. Our revenue, and additionally, in terms of internal hiring, we're in the process of hiring right now for a chief building inspector. We've been contracting out those professional services to BPR Consulting, and with the internal hiring, we'll be able to save money, and we're looking at anticipating some new programs related around the going out and visiting rental properties to make inspections to make sure that they're fit for inhabitation. So in regards to revenue recovery, we are working on, as you may be aware, we started working on the OpenGov platform to manage our business licenses and different fees, and the recreation program, people being able to go on and make reservations for city facilities. And we are in the process of moving the reporting for cannabis development fees to the OpenGov platform and building in a robust monitoring component to that, so that we'll really be able to stay on cannabis reporting and collecting those fees, as well as business licenses have already transitioned over to the OpenGov platform. And zoning permits for short-term rentals are still in city. You have to come in person at City Hall. We will be moving the zoning permit application process onto OpenGov as well. We just completed transitioning, reporting the transient occupancy tax and the tourism district assessment to OpenGov. And this is the first month of reporting there. So we have our operators are and doing initial applications and receiving new transient occupancy registration certificates, and then we'll provide that information to Rentalscapes and get Rentalscapes up to target on that. And so, making a real focus on revenue recovery and just wanting to make sure we're not leaving money on the table will help us meet our budget needs. Our recommended budget adjustments for this year, they're relatively small or specific to a certain situation. First off is the capital projects, Airport Road 18th Avenue extension, the development impact fees that we just discussed, the $528,000. And we have an adjustment for the police department for $52,788, which is actually an insurance payout for an accident claim. So we'll be recognizing the revenue and then expense for equipment, vehicle lease for vehicle replacement. And then abandoned vehicle abatement, we have spent our entire budget already for the year. And vehicle abatement is a priority for the city, and so we are requesting additional $30,000 of appropriation and recognizing $30,000 of revenue from administrative citations. In administrative services, we are we're moving $3,955 from a fund that was created in 2012 from money provided from the County of Lake for running a visitor center for 10 years in the city. And at some point, we stopped spending money from the fund and continued to do projects on the visitor center. And so what we're doing now is we're moving money out of the visitor center project fund, the fund balance, into the general fund and closing that out. So you'll see it moving out of the fund and into the general fund and then appropriated in the building and maintenance fund for the visitor center. And then we have a $500 grant that was received by recreation program coordinator Viramontes from the California Parks and Recreation Society for being able to participate in ongoing training, which was a part of her commitment in order to be able to build the recreation program and continue to increase its financial sustainability. The finance department, we have a budget adjustment for $30,000 for the tourism district assessment. Since we have taken back the tourism district assessment, we are requesting a budget for $30,000 to recognize the revenue that's coming in, and then a budget also to send it out. The city will retain a 2% administrative management fee, and 98% of the collected taxes will go to the Lake County Tourism Improvement District. So in summary, our key takeaways: general fund discretionary revenue is relatively flat with slight possibility of going over budget projections. The overall budget is on track with small adjustments needed that we've just discussed, and we will continue to spend our discretionary funds very conservatively. Staff recommendation is to move to adopt the mid-year budget adjustments resolution 2024-06.
Thank you, Director Wells. Any questions from the council? Councilmember Slutin.
Several of them. I'm happy to see that we're going to the rental inspection program. I believe when I first came on the council, that was one of my desire to have that in place. Where did you figure out that house pricing in City of Clear Lake is going in a different direction than the county? Is that because we have spending and spent significant amounts on road improvements? I think that's my takeaway on it. And I'm glad to see that that we don't trust HDL anymore for their, we're able to track VRBOs and things like that. So I really like that. And with that increase in revenue on that part, should we start thinking about how we can even promote our city more with that increase of money in that pot? And does it make sense what I'm saying?
Certainly, and we will definitely bring those conversations to the table as we see that revenue coming in.
All right. Any other questions from council? Councilmember? No. Any questions from the public? Well, come step forward.
Hi, Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. You brought up that first graphic about 9 houses being sold. I didn't quite get that. Are you saying 9 houses in the whole year of 2023?
So 9 houses were sold in the month of December in 2023, and that is an increase compared to the number of houses sold in December of 2022.
What was the number in 2022?
Well, I don't have the percentages in front of me.
It's only 9 houses. I mean, it's, okay, and so as far as revenue, I saw the cannabis development number or the hope to gain revenue from that. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys here in the City of Clear Lake only have like 3 of the licenses actively having business. So there's like, I don't know, more than 10, I think, inactive. People have the license but don't have a business. So that all that revenue, it's not happening as far as the cannabis hope for revenue. There's so much more that could be done to get these people either to give their license up or open their business, right? And in addition, as far as rental occupancy, rental properties, you're saying there's 28?
These are, may I?
28 in the whole City of Clear Lake?
So So what we're talking about is short-term rentals.
Right.
Which is defined as 30 days or less occupancy. So
Right.
if somebody stays in an Airbnb for a few days when they come to the city of Clear Lake. So that's what we're talking about.
Right.
And what the information that HDL provided to us at the transition back to the city management, they were currently collecting transient occupancy tax from 28 short-term rentals. And what we can see from the Rentalscape data is that they've identified a much higher number than that. So,
Who identified the?
so Rentalscape, the service that they provide, they do a search of the advertisements for short-term rentals, and they identify the addresses of the locations and the number of bookings and provide that information to us. So we have.
Do you pay them to do that? I mean,
Yes, it's a service that we do pay for, and it provides us information that will allow us to reach out to the owners and operators of these short-term rentals that are advertising on Airbnb and notify them that they're required to have business licenses and apply for a zoning permit for short-term rentals within the city, and then also to pay monthly occupancy tax on this.
So the most recent 28 or rentals is as of when?
So I guess what I was saying with that is that is the information that HDL said, we're collecting transient occupancy tax from 28 short-term rentals, but what we know is that there are
There's
many
more.
more short-term rentals
Right.
out there, so that's part of the reason it just
Who is
doesn't feel quite
HDL?
right.
I don't, if you don't mind. How
So
can you-
HDL is a similar service,
Oh, like Rentscape, you mean? Oh,
generally, yep.
so HDL was doing is really, I mean, anyone really with common sense would know that there's a lot more than 28 rentals for short-term weekenders, fishing people that come in. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that, hey, you guys, I think, are missing out on a lot of rental revenue. So I don't know why it takes a company that you have to hire. Anyway, yeah, that would be definitely something you should focus on.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
question and comment. Any other questions from the audience? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, any online?
There are no comments from the Zoom.
All right, I'll bring it back to council.
Can I just highlight a couple things real quick, Mr. Mayor,
Please do.
before, very brief? I just want to point out, I mean, we're using OpenGov. You've heard that a lot. I don't know if any of you, some of you may have used it for various things. Our building permits are all happening through there now. There's kind of unlimited options for us to add additional services through that, and allows people to pay, and it's a lot easier to track, and for you as a consumer of city services to see where perhaps your permit is in the process and so forth. The city of Lakeport has also begun using that, and now recently, because the city of Clear Lake and the city of Lakeport are using that, the county is also going to begin transitioning their building permit services and other things through that portal as well. So, and then I wanted to highlight the additional costs for abandoned vehicles. You know, we try to be really diligent in making sure that these abandoned vehicles don't stay on our streets and blight our community any longer than legally necessary, but it is extremely expensive. As I'm sure you've all noticed, there's been an enormous problem, particularly over the last year and a half, with abandoned recreational vehicles. And while we can't leave them there, it's extremely expensive, $3,000 to $4,000 a piece to have them towed away and disposed of. And so, you know, fortunately, we're in a position, although things are tight, you know, we're asking for some additional funding to kind of carry us through, hopefully, the rest of the year on this. But even at that price, I mean, that's 10 vehicles, RVs. And so just wanted to highlight that, point that out. We do think it's really important. And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we did apply for nearly $500,000 in funding through the state for abatement of like burnt out homes and that type of thing. And so every indication at this point is we're going to get a positive outcome in that. And so in addition to this 30,000, we're also expecting to transfer some money we had for that work over to cover vehicles, because we're expecting to be able to use the grant funds for that. So continues to be a big challenge for us, and trying to identify any ways to reduce the costs of that because it's really outrageous. But anyway, I think Director Wells highlighted the position we're at with discretionary revenue quite well, but happy to address any additional questions you may have.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilmember Purdock.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank and echo the sentiments of Councilmember Slotin. Thank you, Director, for your report. I thought it was right on point. I remember speaking with then Chief Clausen about the number of VRBOs when we were looking at code enforcement issues and things all those years ago. So it's good to see that now that we have the technology and we're able to track these things, and I'm glad you're on top of that and leading the way. So thank you for that. I also wanted to just point out, one of the reasons that we do want to collect that TOT transit occupancy tax is it does help to go to our parks. It helps to enhance the amenities that we have in our city for those people who come to visit, so they may better enjoy their stay here in Clear Lake. So again, thank you for helping us do that.
Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Councilmember Kramer.
Yes, and before I make the motion, I also would like to extend my thanks to you, Director Wells, for that great report. And I think it, sometimes you think it might not take a rocket scientist to come up with something, but we do need to qualify and quantify what we're doing. And I think your report was just that. With that, I can make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-06, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake adopting the Second Amendment to the fiscal year 2023-24 budget which was resolution number 2023-27, making mid-year adjustments.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Councilmember Kramer, a second from Councilmember Purdock. All those in favor, please vote in your portal.
Aye.
If you're opposed, vote there as well.
It's not refreshing.
Yeah, we're not refreshed.
Oh, there
There
we
we
go.
go.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Director Wells, for a thorough report. Item 7, consideration of ratification of proclamation by the city manager as the Director of Emergency Services for the City of Clear Lake declaring a local emergency for winter storms. City Manager Flora.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. So as you know, we had fairly severe storms come through starting on February 2nd. We initially believed that, we weathered the storms quite nicely. But last, I guess a week ago, Thursday, we got some notification from a couple members of the public, and Public Works Director and City Engineer went out to inspect a possible landslide, and were quite troubled with what they saw. So really, this emergency is related to that one particular area. The other damage in the city was relatively minor, but we have a situation where there's a landslide that has moved a little bit, is in danger of causing some severe damage, not only to some private property and a home, but also our public infrastructure and our new road that we constructed very recently. And so last Friday, under my authority as Director of Emergency Services for the city, I proclaimed the existence of a local emergency related to this. And, we've been through this unfortunately a few times before, but you understand that that gives us some additional authority to move through contracting and various things because of the need for speed. And because the problem has risen beyond what we're likely to have local resources to cover. And so at this point, we're asking the council to ratify that. It has to be done within 7 days of a declaration from me. And we don't quite know exactly where we're going yet. We've been working with the contractor, geotechnical engineer, and some other experts. We have a couple of potential options moving forward. We're trying to get some indication that we're likely to get some type of funding to cover the cost of this. Right now, we have two options. We had FEMA and Cal OES here earlier this week. There may be a possibility through FEMA funding, and through the county also declared a disaster, as well as the city of Lakeport, for some incidents. We do believe that countywide it will meet the thresholds that are necessary for FEMA to participate. However, there's also some emergency response funding through Caltrans that we believe this project will be eligible for as well. So our Public Works Director has already submitted some of the necessary paperwork for that. The only thing remaining is the ratification of this emergency declaration. And we're waiting on kind of a final plan from the engineer and contractor to move forward with the fix. And once we have some sort of indication that we're going to see some funding coming back to cover the cost of this, we're planning to move forward as soon as we can to fix the issue there. So I guess with that, try to address any questions you may have, in case there's anything Director Label wants to add. Okay.
All right. Thank you, City Manager. Any questions from the council?
Yes.
Councilmember Prodock.
I'm just curious, are we partnering with the County Public Works Director, Mr. De Leon, since there are so many residents that live beyond the slide area in the county, and this would obviously impact their egress to into town?
Not at this time, no. I mean,
I know it's within our jurisdiction, but
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the way they look at these things, that really isn't a factor.
Okay.
And, you know, it's a little frustrating, particularly from the FEMA side. It's kind of like, well, you know, the road hasn't fallen down the hill yet, so what are we supposed to do about it? And, you know, that doesn't make a lot of sense to the rest of us. But, you know, we're going to try the Caltrans route first because, you know, I think it could be a lot quicker and a little more streamlined than going the FEMA route. That would be sort of a backup solution if we can't get Caltrans funding. But we believe things look positive at this point.
thank you.
Any other questions? If no, I'll open it up to public comment. Seeing no one coming forward. Madam Clerk, any comments online?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Bring it back to council.
All right, I want to move to approve Resolution 2024-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake ratifying the existence of a local emergency as proclaimed by the Director of Emergency Services and requesting the Governor to proclaim a state of emergency for the City of Clear Lake due to the 2024 winter storms.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Councilmember Slutin, a second by Councilmember Kramer. Please vote on your portal.
Report, Mav.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, City Manager. Moving on to item 8, approval of the purchase of shade structures for Austin Park using a cooperative purchasing agreement with Park Planet in the amount of $147,942.51. City Manager Flora.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members. So this item before you is to approve the purchase of these shade structures for Austin Park, total of almost $148,000. This project is funded through the Clean California grant that we received, I guess, a year and a half ago or so, totaling a little over $1.5 million. This grant included a number of things that were eligible through this grant program, which includes trash cleanups. We have like the free dump days, beautification efforts, so signage program, which we've been talking about for a long time, and is almost at the finish line. It's been a bit of a challenge working through Caltrans on some of the issues with the signage. But one of the other things is some of this funding can be focused on, reducing heat islands and various things like that. And so we submitted for some funding for shade structures in Austin Park. The ones that you see in the packet are the ones over the playground equipment that we have. I would point out that initially we had proposed to add some additional shade structures in front of the bandstand to provide some shade in the park for concerts. But because of the deterioration of the relationship with the Koi Nation, and just the difficulty in getting any projects done, we decided to abandon that part of the project because it would be, an area with additional ground disturbance. Where these are in the area that had already been disturbed with the original project. And so that's kind of the overview. I know there is a public comment that I'm sure will be shared with you about why aren't you spending this money on fixing roads? Simple answer is it's one of those grants that type of expenditure is not something that's allowable here. And I guess the only other thing, it seems like a lot for some shade structures. Actually, the price came in a lot less than our original projections. So we're going to have another 100,000+ to allocate within eligible grant parameters for something else, which will probably be focused on additional money for the signage program that we've been working on along the highway and around town. So I'll try to address any questions you may have.
Councilmember Slutin.
Does this also include that exercise equipment that's right next to the playground? That would be nice too, because both things are used very frequently. Every day I see people working on it, so it might be considered.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that was thought about. It certainly wasn't by me, but we could look and see if we have a little extra budget in there, if it's possible to add that in.
Good, thanks.
Any other questions from the council? And I think you covered Mr. Rangel's comment about diverting these funds for roads, just not possible as part of this grant. Any other public comments? Come forward.
Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. No, I'm all for beautifying the city. And that, I'm just curious if the money that I believe the city was given, like $6 million to beautify certain areas, make like maybe a roundabout structure or sculpture, or money that was meant to do that kind of work was given to, I believe, the 18th Avenue project last year. Allocated over there because it needed it. And now we've got another $500,000 that came from fees from the city allocated to the 18th Street project. So I'm just wondering if you could just give me an idea, is that $6 million that still kind of allocated elsewhere for the beautification of Clear Lake? It was 6 projects that they required be done.
So the way public comment works is members of the public can certainly ask staff questions, but it really needs to be directed from the council. If the council wants to ask staff the question, that's fine, but.
I'm trying to get a good sense of what the question was there. Maybe give us a bit of an overview on the cost for the 18th Avenue project historically, and that might answer some of her questions here.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not sure where the $6 million for beautification is coming from. Yeah, so, the 18th Avenue Extension project is approximately $4.5 million. It's being paid with these traffic impact fees. We did get a $500,000 state grant, our self-help allocation because we have Measure V. And then the rest of it is essentially project funds that the city has just dedicated local funds towards that project.
And the Clean California grant's $1.5 million that's focused on.
That's correct.
Other
I mean, in thinking right now, I mean, we did apply for a second round of Clean California for about $5 million for beautification of Lakeshore Drive, but we were not awarded those funds.
Thank you for the clarification, City Manager. Any other public comment? Seeing none here. Madam Clerk, any online?
There are no public comments on the Zoom.
Thank you. I will bring it back to council. Councilmember Kramer.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of shade structures for Austin Park using a cooperative purchasing agreement with Park Planet in the amount of $147,942.51.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Councilmember Kramer, a second from Councilmember Slutin. Please vote on your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
I would like to just jump back to that for a quick minute to just say a huge thank you to Crystal Melanson, our management analyst, who has been working very diligently for, a year and a half and trying to deal with all of Caltrans's requests for additional information and design changes and all this stuff. And I know it's exciting for us, but very rewarding for her to actually see some of this stuff finally built in Clear Lake. So.
Thank you, City Manager. And as a segue, City Manager report.
Okay, a few items I wanted to point out. I got the opportunity to do a very lengthy tour with Connaughton County Water District General Manager this week of their facilities, and they're almost complete with the little over $10 million grant that they received for a lot of upgrades, and pretty impressive what they've been up to. And most of the stuff is online. Not 100% of it's complete yet, but really appreciated the tour, and hopefully have some members of the city council have the opportunity to do that as well in the near future. We'll be bringing our new project manager for Public Works on in the next few weeks. We're fortunate to hire a project manager that worked for Granite Construction on. So I know Director Labe is very excited about having that position filled just in time to begin managing the largest year of public construction projects in the city's history. The tax sale with the county, the direct purchase of a number of properties that we've talked about a number of times was finally completed this week. Received the grant deeds were actually recorded, so we took possession of all that property and are working on a number of ideas to bring beneficial use back to those properties. I was going to talk a little bit about short-term rental compliance, but I think Director Wells covered that quite well. I did want to point out there were some emails sent out. I know a number of you participated, but related to Highlands Water and in compliance with their bylaws, the elected officials in the city have the ability to request notice of their meetings. They've had kind of a lot of special meetings and various things where there's no real notice to their shareholders or others. And so if, as an elected official, you would like to request notice of those meetings, you need to send an email or some correspondence to them saying that you would like to have that notice. We are going to be putting in an application for 2 additional CDBG grants. With the timing on that, these they do have a grant deadline, but this is some additional disaster recovery funding that the city of Clear Lake and a small number of jurisdictions are eligible for. It's not the normal competitive process. So we would like to get those applications in by the end of this month to make sure we have the best chance of getting those funds. And so we'll be reaching out with a proposed date, but looking to have a special meeting, a very short one, the last week of February, so that we can get the resolutions approved and get those submitted before the end of the month. We're intending to apply for $500,000 for our code enforcement program and a planning and technical assistance grant for water-related feasibility report. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is next Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. here in City Hall, we're having a workshop related to the airport project. So if community members are interested in coming and providing input on what they would like to see as part of that project or learn about the direction the city is taking at this point, they're welcome to come and participate. I just want to point out that you don't have to be here at 4 o'clock. You can come in at any time during that period. There'll be different stations set up with visuals around the room, and you can provide your input. So we kind of tried to stagger it so that there's a little bit of time for folks to come in after they finish their workday. So with that, that's my report.
Can you repeat the date and time?
Yeah, it's Wednesday, the 21st, from 4 to 6 p.m. here in City Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilmember Product.
I had the privilege of sitting and attending the Executive Committee for the Lake County Transit Authority on Tuesday. Took no formal action, but we'll be moving forward with a plan for future contract agreements with providers per RFP. Also attended the Lake APC and Lake Transit meeting on Wednesday, yesterday, in Lower Lake. Nothing specific to report, other than again, moving forward and beginning this year's regular business. However, it's a slight caveat and something we've talked about here in our city council chambers, concerns for pedestrian safety and our taking position of our local traffic safety as a member of that committee. I'm just imploring people that choose to walk at night to wear colors that can be visibly seen, carry a light or something that will illuminate you to motorists. Typically, pedestrians do have the right of way, but not all the time. And we recently, I saw on our local news of a fatality in the Lower Lake area. Tragic, for sure. But in my opinion, many of these things are preventable. If they're predictable, they're preventable, and we can do more to keep ourselves and our family members safe. So if you're going to be traveling at night, please wear some reflective clothing, something lighter colored. I bring this up also. Last night I was coming home from a meeting, saw a gentleman, black jacket, black pants, going across Highway 53. Difficult to see. So please be safe out there. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Kramer.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, last Friday, I attended a reception for Mike Congressman Thompson up in Lakeport, along with Councilman Slotin and City Manager Flora was there. Talked about any issue that anybody who was there wanted to ask the congressman about that was within his purview, and some things that I think that probably weren't. One of my pet peeves was Lake Pillsbury situation, and we had a kind of a robust conversation with him on that. I think it's crazy to take a dam out that's holding back 68,000 acre feet of water when we're looking for water anywhere to replace a reduction in snow melt. So that was one of my takeaways from it. I'm sure that Councilmember Slotin might have some other things he'd like to talk about too, relating to water. Went to Lake Link's meeting on the first of this week, our monthly meeting, nothing to report there really, and also attended the APC LTA meeting with Councilmember Purdock, and I'd just like to reiterate his comments with regard to pedestrian safety. It's something that's been a topic at our APC meetings virtually every month. And Highway 53 in particular is very dangerous. It's not well lighted, and there's not enough to keep pedestrians from getting onto the roadway, especially at night. And with dark clothing, it's tragic for certainly the person being hit, and even more so, well, as much so, for the person that's driving. You know, to through no fault of your own, kill somebody is something that you're going to probably live with for the rest of your life. So we definitely need to do something about, especially Highway 53 corridor. That's all I have.
Councilmember Slutin.
Several items. I also was at Mike Thompson's Coffee at Lakeport, and I did mention our situation with our water districts, and I think he promised to see if he could look into it and help us with that. Just another one, yesterday I was at the meeting in Yuba City, and it looks like our dean for the local college will be in place by the summer semester. They're starting to process right now, so I implored him to make sure that there's some local representation to have local people kind of involved in that process. So we don't want to make sure that whatever comes in that position is connected and have buy-in from everybody around here. Let's see. I did sign up as an individual for the notices from Highland Water District. But my main concern today, and I want to bring it up, recently in the last month or two, 2 kids have been killed driving their motorbikes and wheelies down the street here. This morning, yesterday I came home and I almost hit one right on Lakeshore Drive, doing wheelies right by Parkview Market over there, and I've seen them around here. I mean, we need to publicize this. I know I've talked briefly with Chief Hobbs about it, that we need to tell those kids that, they're going to get killed if they continue to do that, and also that, their parents and the person that runs them over. I mean, it's tragic. These kids and there are places that they can do their dirt biking around here. They have to go a little bit out of the city, but I would like to see that some advertised and let known that 2 kids have been killed in the last couple of months for doing dirt bikes on our local streets. It's dangerous. Anyway, that's my report.
Thank you. And for me, I just want to wish Vice Mayor Overton a swift recovery so that she can be back here ASAP. Thank you all. I think the last couple of meetings have been wonderful. All the staff reports we've gotten really just shows the wonderful work that's being done here in the city. So thank you all for taking the time, putting together thorough reports, and impressing us and impressing the community with your work. Any future agenda items?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we are adjourned.